Cano, Americano, whiskey soda. Good evening, ciao to you, and thanks for tuning in, everybody. Welcome to my home, Philip Jones Martini Whisperer. Let me throw these all friends off for a minute. So if you saw The Town of Mr. Ripley, that great movie with Matt Damon and Jude Law and what's the name? This is the original version. Siri decided to join in. Who needs Siri? Okay, we'll start again, shall we? Hi, everybody. Philip Jones Martini Whisperer. Welcome to Cocktail Hour Live. Well, more 30 minutes. Stick around. I've got some news. I've got some products to tell you about. And we may even make a cocktail or two Negroni-wise. So I've been doing a series of things around Italian spirits of late for a client up here in Canberra. And diving into like aperitivos and amaros and digestives and all that great stuff, right? So I got me thinking about the classic cocktail of all, the Italian's gift to the world, which is of course not the martini, but the Negroni. So I'm sure it needs no introduction to you. Cheers everybody, here's to you. Apparently it's Friday, so you've earned a drink. So I'm hoping you're comfortable, you're well, you're in your favourite environment, and noises off are courtesy of a puppy called Cosmo. So I apologise in advance for any mayhem that may ensue. Anyway, let's get started. This thing's got a cocktail vibe tonight in terms of theme. So if you have any questions along the way about cocktails, anything you want to know about making cocktails, absolutely. So if you just joined in, welcome to Cocktail Hour Live. Show new, as I say. Before I dive into talk about Negronis, and I've got about 4 recipes I want to share with you this evening, just what's coming up locally. So at the moment, it's still kind of Canberra based because the weirdness that's still carrying on. But I've got a bunch of events at the Italian Deli in Braddon. So digestives, aperitivo time, get maybe around cocktails, learn about amaros. So all these things are listed on my homepage on my website, martiniwhisperer.com. You can't miss. It links back to where you can purchase that. I'm also about to lock in a series of Australian spirit tastings. So I've got a venue very interested in working together with me. So we'll do like Australian gin, Australian whiskey, Australian rum, and so on and so forth. So I did that for a few years out of other venues. So that's great. But in May, this could be like a girly thing really. In May on the, I'll get this date right, the 7th of May at Piego Estate. We're going to celebrate World Cosmopolitan Day because you can. So we've got room for about 80 people. Tickets are selling really, really fast. And I'm going to recreate the original recipe, a take on it, and also non-alcoholic. And plus you can buy as many cocktails as you want as long as you get home safe. So that's going to be a chance to rock up, get your girlies together. There's going to be trivia, all sorts. It's going to be a really, really fun evening at Piego Estate, 7th of May, Cosmopolitan Party. What's I love about that, right? So good. Pretty in pink. Think about that. And about a week later, whiskey on the 13th. Still Piego Estate. I'm going to take you around the world in 5 whiskies in a bit. So I've created this list, and I'm going to tell you what it is, because that'll spoil the fun. But I've got whiskies from different countries, and we'll have trivia and also. So it won't be one of those very, very serious kind of, whiskey wanker kind of stuff. It's actually going to be interesting and fun and informative. So if you don't know anything about whiskey, come along. If you do know about whiskey but on some more, come along. Just want to have some fun, have some friends. They're going to have like platters of food. The food to Piego Estate's amazing. So tickets again via my website, martiniwhisperer.com, takes you to Piego Estate where you can buy. And I think we've got about 60 people coming to that already. So that's going to be really amazing. So if you just tuned in, thank you, and thank you for your company. I'm Philip Jones, the Martini Whisperer. Welcome to my little house. We've got a puppy running around, so I excuse in advance for any mischief that may ensue. The thing that came across my desk this week, in fact. I'm doing a private masterclass on different taste sensations in cocktails. And it was supposed to be tonight, but they've postponed to the 30th, which is why I'm talking to you fine folk. I thought, not in bed to do, let's have a drink and talk about cocktails. Cheers. And it was on the round of that flavour profile called inami, the very singular Japanese idea. And now it's more or less in the mainstream, that kind of savoury, kind of rich, kind of viscosity. So I came across this range called the Japanese bitters. So it comes from a shop called I'm going to get this wrong, Shop Ikiwagari. Don't worry, I'll put the link down below as we go along. But in Australia, it's called Kokura World. Sorry, apologise, I bastardised that. Kokura World, Kokora World. and they stock, there's a really beautiful range of Japanese bitters. So I bought this for the occasion. It's actually a Unami bitters. So I've been mucking around with it in various cocktails, like a martini, using a very basic gin like a Tanqueray, just to see what it does, test drive it. Fascinating stuff. And they were very sweet to send me little samples of the other range. So there's yuzu, there is hinoke, there's sakura, and shito. So beautifully made, as you would expect from something that comes out of Japan. Very singular flavours, quite rich and complex. Cosmo's back, sorry about that. What did you bring in this time? He's brought a bone in, great. Yes, so beautiful stuff. And so Japanese bitters. So I will do a write-up of this when I get around to it. It's, how to put this, they suggest various things for cocktails, like a Caesar, for example. So in the case of Unami, a dirty martini or a Bloody Mary or a Caesar, if you know, Canadian version of that. I can see how it can totally work. So I'm going to spend a lot of time just getting my head around these and tasting them and testing them, and it's coming up. So I'll put the link down below where you can discover more about their range. They also carry, understand, Japanese gins and whiskies. They're out of Victoria, by the way. So yes, Coca-Cola World. Thank you guys for sending that through to me, and I'm looking forward to working with that. All right, so events coming up, heaps of. So on my website, you'll see it all. I'm moving out to Wagga Wagga. God bless Wagga Wagga. At the end of the year, that's September, October. In October, I'll be at the South Coast Food and Wine Festival, which is going to be really exciting. So we're working with local distillers down that way, and coming up with something really fun, I think, with them. So that's around October. So again, all those dates are there, and there's a bunch more to come as well. So if you're Canberra guys, think about the Cosmopolitan Party or the World of Whiskey experience, Pergo Estate, and I'd love to see you there. Let's talk cocktails, shall we, since you're here. LA Hills Distillery, congratulations on your new whiskey release. Cheers to you guys, well done. And anyone else that's just tuned in, we're talking cocktails, and because I've been on an Italian bench of late for various reasons, I thought I'd talk about the Negroni while I drink a martini. Go figure, right? It's my party, I can do what I damn well want. Okay, let's talk about Negronis. So I've just pinned on my website an article I did a couple of years ago about the Negroni, and unlike the martini, for example, it is one of those cocktails where you can absolutely pin down a time and place and a person who created it. So way back, we're talking 1920s, Cafe Cassani in Florence, on the Via, I'm going to pronounce this pretty badly, on the Via Tornabuone. So the barman was Fosco Sarkesi, S-C-A-R-C, so Sarkesi, Fosco Sarkesi. Sorry about that, guys, I don't speak Italian. Anyway, so way back in the 20s, about 1923 thereabouts, in the Cafe Cassini in Florence. So Fosco, and the regular was a certain Count Negroni, like a real life guy, like he looked. It girl. Ciao, Bella. Ciao. Hope you're safe and well. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. It must be like, I don't know, time for a cocktail. So this is Count Negroni himself. Very handsome dude. Exactly what you'd think a Count Negroni should look like, right? So he's so on brand back in the day. Anyway, so he would drink a version of a bit like Americano, but he wanted a bit more oomph. So Fosco did the smart thing and added, basically, you had Swing Vermouth and Campari, of course, traditional, and added a slug of gin. Sensible chat. So, I am absolutely thriving and well, thank you very much. Yes, so, Santé. Yes, so, in its original form, and this is why I like this particular cocktail, because it's a no-brainer to make. And it is gift to the cocktail world. And if you're thinking about, you know, in happier times, piazzas and passeggiata and the sun setting over a beautiful square, and you think about where you might want to go for dinner, well, what do you want to do? You want to contemplate, you know, blah, blah, blah. So, the Negroni, simply put, is equal parts of gin. And I like a good, solid, spicy gin, like a London dry gin. So even Gordon's or Beefeaters would do the business. So I'm thinking old school. So this is the traditional recipe, right? So back in the day, 1920s, right? Campari, obviously. Yeah, so what Amaro. And then a sweet vermouth, in which case the classic martini brand. I'm leaning towards these days over the other usual suspects, but don't play favourites. So equal parts, over ice and serve with an orange peel. Ella. And again, Squeaks off the side, Cosmo, who's currently enjoying himself with a toy. So sorry about that. He's only a puppy, what are you going to do? However, so that's easy bet. So what people do, they tend to pour it into the glass, equal parts, add ice, stir, orange peel, and you're done, which is great. No brainer. But what I prefer to do is get board fusion going on because I just can't leave things alone. So I build my Negronis in a mixing glass like so. So I will build the drink. I will put some ice into it, a la Tucci. Add the ingredients, pre-cooked ingredients, stir it, and then I will transfer that, strain that down into, again, Tucci vibe, into a new glass, like so. The Negroni goes into that, stir. So basically, don't forget, the stirring down over the ice is not just about chilling, it's also about a little bit of dilution, which softens the flavours of the spirit and also opens up the flavour profile. So it's one of those drinks where, again, with a fresh orange peel, it gets better with age in terms of, the diffusion, everything softens up and all the flavours. Now, pro tip, if you're not a big fan of bitter Campari flavour, just dial that back. So compensate either with more sweet vermouth, so a little bit less Campari, or do what I do and just add more gin. Either way, you can make your own adventure. So that's your basic version, right? If you're just joining us, thank you for coming in. Enchiladas, cheers to you. Safe and well, I hope. I'm just going to make a little adjustment here. Cosmo. We don't need that. It's chewing the furniture. Cosmo, make an appearance. Come here, buddy. Who wants to meet Cosmo? Cosmo the puppy, shall we? Come here. Say hi to Cosmo, everybody. Do I get a kiss? No. Oh, I do get a kiss. Thank you, buddy. Cosmo just turned 1. And he's into everything, as you'd imagine. So he's our COVID puppy. He's a sports model. Don't you? Yeah. Okay. There you go. Okay. Campari recipe number 2. So that's a classic. Number 2 is all Australian in version. I know. He's a sports model. If Harry, my blessed Harry, was the flaneur, he's the sports model. Trust me. Like I say, fit. Okay. So classic model. Let's talk about Australian ingredients, shall we? So again, the principle's the same. Sweet vermouth and Amaro. Cosmo says thank you for that. He appreciates the love. He's got off wandering. He's going to dig up a bow now. He's like, no, that we started. You should see our backyard. It's a racetrack. It used to be in a garden. Now it's a racetrack. He's a sports model. Okay, so same principle, but you swip ingredients out. So in this case, local distillery called Canberra Distillery. This is their original release. It's back to front. I realise that. Think beef eater, but a lot more kind of intense and kind of spicy flavours. And so that's a really good base to work with. And then a really exciting ingredient that comes out of Australia called ochre. So the team at Applewood Distillery, Adelaide Hills, north of Adelaide, Sebastian Clare and all the team there have always been very innovative in the spirits that they make and make exceptional gin and other things besides. So Applewood looked them up, but they produce a thing called ochre, O-K-A-R. And think of this, you could think of it like an Australian Campari, but it's not as bitter as that, and it's not as... and because it's actually based around native botanicals. So there's a batch variation. So I've got a few bottles of it, and the colour is slightly different each time because they harvest them when they're in season. Native products, again, like I said, and it's absolutely divine. So this was designed basically to replace Campari in Negroni. So ochre, it's fantastic. And a sweet vermouth, well, I still think this is one of the best products to come out of Australia, period. The Made Nice Sweet Vermouth. Again, native botanicals, and I could rattle these off. Strawberry gum, sea parsley, wattle seed, river mint, and others, based on a very nice wine out of the Yarra Valley. Gorgeous by itself. So actually what you get, so same ratios, equal parts, so it's a no-brainer. But you get a really, really rich, complex, savoury even experience that you will hint of bitterness, but not so much as you would with the traditional one. Absolutely right. Gin days, Made Night, lead the way. I did a thing on the weekend, some of you may have seen, where I did the Canberra Centre, and I used a Made Night Nocturne, which has all sorts of exotic things like mumberries and rye berries and black truffles. And it was a hit, thank goodness. But yeah, amazing ingredients. They're intense, they're always intense, but worth knowing about, so yeah. And then we could go a bit crazy, so this is recipe number 3 now. And again, if you've got a recipe, cocktail suggestion or question, I'm all ears. Talking about Negronis tonight if you just tuned in, but I'll field your questions about anything cocktail martini related since you're here. Negroni Blanco, i.e. a white Negroni. Can it be done? Yes, it can. So same principles. So a couple of years ago I did a World Gin Day dinner up here in Canberra, and I mucked around with it, and I used at a nod to the original, and an Italian vermouth, so the Cinzano, but the dry one. But the Amaro, so if you're not familiar with Amaro, think about it as a kind of bitter digestive. So by itself, remember all these ingredients, especially in the old world, they were designed to be drunk by themselves. So they're sophisticated and interesting products in their own right. So I know we're talking cocktails now, and it's interesting that, you know, this cocktail, the Negroni, was invented in the 20s, so it's all kind of modern era if you think about that, based on really old ingredients which were designed, in many cases, to drunk by themselves. Cocktail culture was only 20, 30 years old in the scheme of things. But I did see a reference, as a fun fact, doing some research for something else, where the first written reference to the word cocktail was, believe it or not, 1798, out of England. And it had something to do with parliamentarian having cocktails for breakfast and trying to charge the taxpayer. That sounds unusual, doesn't it? Don't you think? Anyway, yeah. So this one I use. So a white vermouth, and then Amaro Nonino. This is beautiful. Really, really lovely product. Amaro Nonino. It's a very, very old product. A little bit marzipan-y, like a bit of marzipan. If you like marzipan chocolate, you get the idea, but not sweet. Nice viscosity to it, and really bone dry finish. So a terrific ingredient in of its own right. So there's that. And then the local nod for the gin, again we're making a white Negroni here, again equal parts. I used a barrel aged gin from McHenry, this is the last of it, from Tasmania. So McHenry's a very terrific distillery, I'm sure you're aware, out of Southern Australia. Then they poured over in Tassie. And anyway, so this had this really great base note, the thing, because all the three together, and I get orange peel sort of garnish. So that's recipe number 3. And then to go a bit trippier, recipe number 4, where same principles, but what I did was I switched out the ideas. So I used a cold brew coffee. In this case, it was Underground Spirit. So again, another local Canberra distillery, very pure, elegant kind of release. So not very sweet. So vodka liqueur, but with coffee infusion. And instead of the vermouth, I added the Lillet. Voila. Beautiful orange ring from southern France. And then a classic sweet vermouth, in which case I just added the martini. So what she actually got was a very interesting combination of a little bit of sweet, a little bit of bitter, dark, of course. So very, very sultry kind of number. Anyway, the recipes, I've pinned the article, like I said, on my website, and there's a video of me making that one at the end of the article, so you can just jump to it and I'll put the ingredients in. Voila. So yes, some Negroni. So I like the Negroni simply because it's the other white meat, as we know, but also that it appeals to my philosophy of cocktails, namely that it's simple, it's approachable, you can adapt it, at home. I'm never about trying to, when I create a cocktail for clients or situations where they're so complicated and the ingredients are so difficult that you in the general sense of the word, the people just can't do it at home. We'll leave that to the expert chaps and ladies in fantastic bars around the world who spend their passionate time making fantastic ingredients. I'll leave that to them. For me, I like to think about what's in season, what's appropriate, what's approachable, and what's personal, and the Negroni ticks all those kind of boxes. I have heard about people using a lemon peel in that. That could kind of work. I did muck around over a grapefruit peel using the coffee liqueur and the Lillet Blanc, again, just to cut things out just a little bit. But I think you're better off sticking to this. Sometimes you can also use a grapefruit peel as well, like a ruby grapefruit. Again, the white Negroni, which I use for this, the 8 barrel-aged gin and the Amaro and the white Cinzano, that kind of worked as well. So, there you are. So, here's some Negronis on a martini. So what I'm going to do now is what's next coming on the website. So I will be talking about, like I said before, this Japanese bitters range and how I kind of work with them. But the homework for this weekend is an article around cocktail tools. So here's this beautiful one from the mid-60s I was gifted recently. Look at that. Isn't it fantastic? So this is Arne Jacobsen, so mid-60s Danish designer. He apparently designed hotels in Sweden, all sorts of amazing designer. But this is the real deal, so I was very privileged. And you'll note how the strainer is integrated in design. So yeah, but the spoon is tricky. So instead of the usual spoon, right? This one's from 1965, but there's a hole in it, which is a bit tricky when you're using it. However, so I've had to learn a whole new kind of stirring technique to get my head around that, but it does work and it's beautiful. So I'll be talking about that and design and just, how to use a Boston shaker and all the other situations and the Japanese sort of stuff. So look out for that in the coming days on the website. There's also, if you missed it, a look at a subscription service. I've done on the list on the website, just by the way, I'm not doing clickbait here, just so you know, are all the people who sell Australian spirits online, for example, or different subscriptions, and then some are club models, subscription models. So Gin Loot, a new guy out of Sydney, so they're featured in a recent article, but you can link through and see all the other ones that are there as well. And they all offer a little bit something like Gin Society or Gin Tonica or Gin Birds and all the rest of them. So there's quite a few now, it's about over a dozen, I'm pretty sure. So that's quite exciting, but the Gin Loot guys were doing quite nice things, so little videos, QR codes, you click through and get tasting notes. The idea is being you on a bit of a journey throughout the year if you sign up for that long, and throughout the whole year you get the whole deal of how gin's made, styles of gin, tasting notes, but also videos about how to use them and so on and so forth. So it's quite a nice, slick product. So they did a quite nice job. So I didn't mind talking about those. Well, that's it. Unless you have something to say. I'm going to put some music on, shall we? So remember, cocktail shakers. Events coming up, Cosmopolitan Party here in Canberra, 7th of May, 30th of May, also World of Whiskey at Piego Estate. Tickets via my website. And thanks well. So stay well, have a great weekend, and it's lovely to see you all, and I again appreciate your support. Until next time, cheers everybody, take care.